everybody. This is the Intentional Parenting Gist talk show. Whatever you call it, it's just a time to talk with parents and have fun and learn as well. It's educating and entertaining. And today with us, we have a seasoned speaker, and her name is Wunmi Olotu. Let me read her profile. You know, I'm always telling you, we promise to bring seasoned speakers on this show. Wunmi Olotu is passionate about creating a better world for us in. She does this by educating parents on healthy and positive parenting, which is the only way to raise kids who become adults who treat others right. She is passionate about helping individuals grow by teaching them how to let go of mindset blocks and limiting beliefs. She's also passionate about creating marriages. She has empowered families in different countries of the world. Welcome with me, Mrs. Wunmi Olotu, to today's episode. Mrs. Wunmi Olotu, today we're talking about intentional parenting. I am passionate about intentional parenting. There is nothing like just parenting your child like, okay, like a roller coaster. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. You know, we found ourselves, parenting is one thing we never went to school for. We just, after pregnancy, even during the wedding, you begin prayers like, okay, what's your take about intentional parenting?
Intentional parenting is a skill. It's something that okay, let's start from what is being intentional. Intentional means we're being conscious about what we do, how we act, how we respond to things. So generally, that's what it means to be intentional. So it's just like waking up in the morning and saying, oh, these are the things I want to get done. If you're not intentional about saying, okay, I want to get these things done, you will not actually get anything done. So intentional means that you're being conscious, deliberate about the things that you want to achieve. So intentional parenting means you're being intentional, you're being deliberate, you're being conscious about the way you want to raise your child.
You said yes. It's like waking up in the morning, we know that this is what I want to do. These are things I want to do. Like there was one, we do have intentional parenting conference, and that will bring me to this question. Is it possible to have parenting goals? Because in one of these conferences, we talked about parenting goals. Is it possible to have parenting goals? If it's possible, how often? Should it be yearly? Should it be weekly? Should it be monthly? Should it be, how do we go about this? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that question. So when you say parenting goals, I think parenting goals should be a daily goal. First of all, it's a big goal first. So I was thinking about the topic this morning. I was thinking about something that you don't just go to your kitchen and start mixing ingredients without actually knowing what you want to cook. Before you go to your kitchen, you have an idea, you have a picture of what you want to make. So it's more like when you have your child, you already have the broad picture. You already have the goal of the kind of child that you want to raise. So when we now say parenting goal, so it's broken into pieces. How do I achieve this main goal? You know, even with goals, we have the big goals and we have the small goals. The big goals are divided into small goals. So let's say you want to raise a child who shares things. On a daily basis, you teach your child to share things. In my house, we have the statements that says sharing is fun. So, you know, it's a conscious act where we intentionally teach our child that sharing with others is fun. Sharing with others is fun. So our goal as parents is, okay, we want our child to be able to share things with others. We want to raise a kind child. We want to raise a child who has empathy for others. And this big goal is broken into the way you raise your child each day. So parenting goals are spot on, but we also have to make sure that we're being conscious about our big parenting goal, making sure that we're getting it done in our daily parenting goal.
That's nice. It's a big parenting goal, but it should be streamlined to daily activities. So it shouldn't be like a yearly goal, like at the beginning of the year as we're setting goal, we are saying, okay, this, we might have that as a big picture, but we should have it in bits. Like you said something, I think it was your post, like cooking jollof rice. You said
Yes.
like cooking food. Okay, if you that what just came into my mind. The big goal is to cook big pot of jollof rice. So say something about that and explain further for people that did not see the post.
Okay, so for me, I see parenting like cooking. So yesterday I made an egusi soup. Egusi soup is a delicacy in my own country, Nigeria. So, and there are different steps to making the egusi soup. You need the soup, you need the red oil, you need the meat, you need the stock, you need, you need the spice. But I already have the goal that I want to make the egusi soup. If I forget to add my, let's say I forget to add pepper, the egusi soup is going to be very dry. If I forget to add the red oil, the egusi soup is going to be very white. All these small things, they play a role in the way my egusi soup turns out. So raising children is just like cooking. There are different aspects to raising children. So when we miss out a point, it affects the overall development of that child. So for example, raising children is a combination of two things. It's not just clothing children, which is what a lot of people do. We clothe our children, we feed our children, we make sure they get good academic education, which isn't the only thing. A child also there's the internal, there's the mental, there's the emotions of a child. And the emotions of a child is what makes up a child, is what determines how a child is going to act. So when parents don't pay attention to the emotions, it's still going to affect a child. Even when a child is fully clothed, a child is fed, a child has an accommodation over a house over his head, and the emotions are neglected. If the emotions are not paid attention to, it's going to affect the child. So just like I said, if I leave the red oil out of my egusi soup, my egusi soup is going to be very white. So all these little things make up what our children is going to grow up to be like.
That's so fantastic. That's beautiful. Oh, so we need to be conscious about everything that goes into our recipe. We need to be
Having
conscious about
children,
it. Okay,
having children
that
is a
brings
big
okay.
responsibility. It's a very, very big
Hmm.
responsibility. Becoming a parenting coach now over the years has made me realize the fact that, growing up in Nigeria, especially when you get married, you're expected to have children almost immediately. But really, no one tells you what actually goes into raising a child, into raising a whole child. It's like buying a box of pizza and then you realize one of the slices or two slices are missing. That's not a whole package. So to really raise a whole child, there's so much involved. And now I look at it, now I have this mindset that please, if you're not ready to invest into that child, if you're not ready to put up with that responsibility, don't have children. That's the mindset I have now, because I feel like so many people raise half-baked children. You're baking a cake and it's not done, but you still put it out for people to buy. That's half-baked cake. So, or you want to buy a pizza and I order a pizza and they deliver to me a box of pizza with two slices missing. I don't want it. I'm going to return it back. But because most of us don't know what is actually the old child and what is the piece, the missing one. So the missing goes more into the society and they keep mixing and they keep reproducing and keep replicating. But then having children, it's a whole big responsibility. It takes a lot other than just making sure our children are fed, our children are, it takes being intentional every step of the way.
Oh, great. I have so many questions jumping over my head right now. Okay, let me just say two, then you answer them like one after the other. One, what's your definition of a old child? What's your, like you said, it's like a rhyme to me. We keep mixing, the mixing part is missing with the society. That sounds like fine. That's very great. That's very key. So we should fix the missing one first before they mix with the society. So what's your definition of a old child? Like when you see a child, the goal of us is to raise an wholesome adult. So what's like your definition of a old child? That's question number one. And question number 2, can you just give us like a 5-step or 7-step or 10 steps of being an intentional parent?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So a whole child. Okay, so first, let's say what really makes up an individual, what makes up me, what makes up you, is the combination of the internal and the external. You understand, as like, okay, and as an external person, am I growing? I'm not the same age as I was last year. As an external, do I have clothes to wear? Am I feeding? Am I eating? Am I sleeping? These are the external factors. But then the emotions, my emotions also play a role in who I become, in who I grew up to become. So for example, I will give you this example. So growing up for me was, I'm the first child of my parents, and at some point my parents married into rock, and I had to grow up faster than I should. And one way or the other, I didn't have anyone to depend on. I had to fend for myself a lot. And it made me become so independent, so tough mentally and all that. And when I got married, I realized that up till date, I still find myself being that independent woman. You know, like that's my emotions growing up was like, okay, I have to fend for myself. I have to do this. I don't have anybody to do this for me. I have to do that. And then getting married, it's in the beginning when I got married, it became very difficult for me to be able to rely on my husband, because my emotions, my mental state growing up was like, okay, you have to be. So two things make up an individual, the emotions and the physical. It was like when I was also working on a topic, because I started a podcast and I was working on a topic and I was looking at topics to start, and I was like, okay, maybe I should talk on emotional pain. And then I was given this example, like when you hurt yourself, when you hurt your finger, you see the scar because it's physical, but when you hurt emotionally, no one sees the emotion. No one sees the pain inside. Only you see the pain. So a child is made up of emotions and the external. But then, so what is emotion for a child? A child wants something. And as a parent, you can't give that thing to your child for whatever reason that is known to you. No matter what, whether that child is being demanding, or that child just genuinely wants that thing. But at that moment, you can't give that thing to your child. Your child is experiencing an emotion called disappointment. How do you handle that disappointment at the moment? You're walking and your child wants to play with you, and you say, oh, sorry, I'm working at the moment. Mom is busy or dad is busy. Your child is experiencing an emotion called disappointment. How are you, how are you dealing with that disappointment emotion? So you can either say, okay, you know what, I will be done in 10 minutes time and a mom is going to be able to play with you. Or you leave that child to his or herself. And then the more disappointed the child becomes, the more they start to feel in their mind that, okay, mom does not want to play with me. My mom or dad is always busy. So that emotions, all these things that children experience. A child is, someone hurts a child. Children sometimes, no matter how intentional you are, will always be children. Sometimes they just don't want to follow your rules. Sometimes they just don't want to. So, or sometimes when a child is hurt, they act out. That's one of the things I tell my parents. When a child is acting out, there's a reason behind why your child is acting out. Let's say your child is coloring on the wall. There's a reason why your child is coloring on the wall. Your child is experiencing an emotion. How do you deal with that emotion? Most people just see the action. You're coloring on the wall. Why did you do that? Why did you neglecting the emotion? So the more we neglect the emotions that our children are experiencing, the more there becomes a dent. A dent starts to create a wound, start to grow, a wound, and it becomes so big in a child's heart that when a child grows up and they start experiencing these things, they don't know how to handle it. That's why many children grow up without not knowing how to experience disappointment. They don't know how to handle failures. They don't know how to handle challenges, because really life is full of challenges. But paying attention to your child's emotions means that you're raising an awesome child. So you don't just pay attention to the physical and say, get your own work done, get good grades in school, finish your food, sleep on time, all those physical things. You have to pay attention to the emotions behind why your child, emotions. Those are the things that make up an awesome child. We have to pay attention to our emotions, the emotions of our children, not just the physical aspect. So you said I should give you 10, 5. Okay, I'm not one for rules, for steps anyway. So I'm going to try my best. So generally, honestly, being a parent is not an easy task, because in the society where we live now, where the mother has to, where the father has to be constantly working, the mom also, even if she's staying inside the house, there's still a lot to do. There's cleaning, there's cooking, there's a lot. So it's easy to say, okay, your child, you go sit on this laptop or go sit with the TV. There's a lot going on in our society now that parents have become engrossed in. So being intentional means taking your eyes off those things and focusing on your child. That's what it means normally to be an intentional parent, and saying, okay, despite all that is happening around me, despite my busy schedule, despite how tired I am, despite how difficult, challenging it is to make money, despite how difficult it is at my workplace, I need to focus on my child. And how do you focus on your child? Just the same way I have explained now, paying attention to your child's emotions. People say children define love by time spent with them. I realized one thing during this pandemic was, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was like, God, how am I going to cope? Even as a coach, you learn things on your job. And I was like, how am I going to cope? So I started getting toys for my child. I'm telling you, because no one is perfect. I keep telling people, there's nothing like a perfect parent. Each day we learn to be intentional with everything we do with our children. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get a lot of toys for my child to keep him busy and all. But I realized that it wasn't the toys that my child wanted. It was me that my child wanted. So before the pandemic, I was so engrossed in my work. My husband was engrossed in his work. He was going to school. But then school shut down, and one of us has to take a pause, which mom is the self-employed. So mom is the one that has to take a pause. So, I had to tell myself, you have to slow down on your work so you can focus on your child. Because no matter the toys that my child has, if I'm not there playing with him, because for now he's the only child. So if I'm not there, doing the toys with him, you're just raising a child who is just being isolated one way or the other. So at that particular time, my priorities had to shift. So that for me, that's being conscious. It's been saying, okay, you know what? I can't take as much clients as I want to take for now, because my child also needs me, because I'm also a parent. So intentional parenting is about, honestly, being just conscious, asking yourself, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing no matter what? Am I doing the right thing no matter what? Is when you want to get angry. Sorry, I'm not one for saying step 1, step 2. So I hope the audience will get.
I understand. We'll pick it. Yes, we'll pick it. We'll pick it.
Okay, yes. So it's also been like, when you're stressed as a parent, do you snap at your children? Do you get? When no one likes to be snapped at. I don't want my husband to get tired and be stressed and then come back home and yell at me at my slightest mistake. So I don't want to do that to my child too. So being intentional is knowing that, okay, my stress should not be spilled on my child. So how do I undo my own stress so that I don't pour it over to my child? So most of the time in my home, when I'm quiet, my child will ask, oh, mom is quiet. Why is mom quiet? Mom is quiet because she's tired. Because I know that when mom talks when she's tired, she'll probably say things that she does not want to say. So I have learned over time to deal, I'm telling you, I've learned over time to deal with my stress. And that for me, that's being intentional in saying, okay, no matter how stressed I am about what's going on in my world, I'm not going to yell at my child and say, what is this mess? You know, when you're stressed, the little things that you're not supposed to be upset at, you get upset. So, and then we realize that it's a continuous process of like, okay, your child creates a messy home. And another thing parents need to understand is when you have children, no matter the age, children come with mess. They come with mess. Before we all had kids, our children, our houses were clean, except if you have a living nanny that is always picking up things all the time. Even if you have a living nanny, your child will still come create mess in the home. So, you know, as parents, we shouldn't snap at our children at the slightest thing. Your child makes a mess of his or her toys. Why not teach that child how to pack up the toys? Or when, if the child is little, why not pack it up yourself? Or why not use consequences? But then as parents, we just assume that, oh, because this is the way we want our house to be and this is the way it should be. Once you have children, children come with certain things. It's like when you buy a car, you know you have to buy fuel into that car all the time. You have to make sure that your car has engine or your car has water to run it. So those things come with buying. You can't buy a car and say, I don't want to buy engine oil, or I don't want to pay a mechanic to check my car. No, it's not possible. So children also come with their own packages. So being intentional means, one, you have to be conscious about the way you speak to your child. Days when I can't control my stress and I probably say things I don't want to say to my child, I go back and apologize immediately because I know I've done wrong. So as parents, you know, we have to let go of my child is my child, I'm the parent. No, a child is a human being like you, like you. The only difference is the years of experience. There's no difference between an adult and a child. There's no difference. The only difference is that you are probably 30-something years old. The child is probably like 5 years old. You've had years of experience. That's just the only difference. You have emotions, your child has emotions. You have feelings, your child has feelings. You get tired, your child gets tired. You get bored, your child gets bored. You know, the same things that you are hungry, your child gets hungry. The same things that happen to adults happens to children. The only thing is that as an adult, we know the differences between right and wrong. We know because over the years we've learned things.
Wow.
I hope I was able to get some point across.
Yes, yes. I tried to write it down at least for the audience to be able to summarize it. The first one I wrote was understand the child. Understand the child, that what the child needs, the emotions of the child, as in your children, is very important. And the second thing you said is understanding myself as a parent. I should understand myself. I should understand when I'm tired. I should understand everything about me. It helps me to relate with my children. If I understand that when I'm tired, I need to keep quiet, just like you said, the children will, as they grow, they will understand. When mommy is quiet, they'll say, okay, mommy doesn't want to say the wrong thing. Let's just leave mommy, you know, maybe in their teen ages. So number 3, you said, allow children to behave like children. We shouldn't expect them to be robots. We shouldn't expect them to obey us like immediately, even though we are intentional. We should allow their messes. We should allow them to behave like children. And with time, we'll let them know what is right and what is wrong.
Yes.
You also mentioned that children come with their home packages, as in we should just, when we get those, we should know how to fix what is right and what is wrong in the package. And the final one that got me, you said a child is a woman being like me. I wrote it like, my child is a woman being like me. The only difference is the years of experience. They have emotions, they have feelings, but also, so if I should see them, like the example you gave, you don't want your husband to come back home and because he was stressed at work, should be yelling at you. If I can see it, if I can look into my children's emotion like that, okay, my child too wants to come back from school, or see a yelling mom, or because she's stressed from COVID-19, she's at home, she's not doing anything, it will be able to help our relationship. That is very, very key. Thank you so much, Mrs. Olotu, for these tips and not, or will I call them nuggets, They are very, very important. They are very, very important. I've learned a lot. As an intentional parent, I've already learned a lot from what you just mentioned. And I hope the viewers, the audience too, are learning one or two things. On a final note, can you just give us like a final wrap? I had a question. I just don't remember. I just flew out. As in, I wrote it
Oh,
down. I couldn't. So can you just give us like a final wrap? Maybe when you are doing the final wrap, I will remember the question. A final wrap.
okay. So as a parent, first of all, I want us to know that there's nothing like perfect parents. On social media, people
Mm.
post pictures of their kids and all. There's nothing like perfect parents. As a coach, when you see parenting coaches putting out posts, they are not perfect parents. When I teach people in my trainings, I tell them I'm a mom like you who is just trying to be intentional with raising my children. And I always make sure to teach them from my own mistakes, from my own learning experiences so that they can know that perfection does not exist. It only means that as a parent, we have the goal of the kind of child that we want to raise. We all need to have that goal. You know, it's not enough to say, okay, I want my child to be God-fearing. I want my child to be kind. I want my child to be this. I want my child to be successful. You have to put in the effort to 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 make sure that your child get to this point. You have to put the effort to make sure that your child becomes this. You know, it's like when we get married and we think that, okay, the love that we have for each other in the beginning is going to sustain us through the married years. And then you have a shocker that tells you that, oh, okay, if you really want to stay in love and you want your marriage to be alive, you have to be intentional about spending time with one another. So it's just like that. You don't want your marriage to be dead, so you're intentional. You want to raise your children to become a certain kind of human being or to avoid the mistakes that you made. You have to be intentional in teaching your children. You have to be conscious. Positive parenting is stressful, is challenging, is not the easy way out, honestly. The default, the poor parenting is the easy way out. The default parenting that says, okay, stay indoors, you know, or do this or do that one is the easy way of raising children. But when you really want your children to go the extra mile, you have to put the effort. I can't sit down with you and say, oh, I'm hungry, I need food. And then food magically appears. I either have to go to the kitchen to make the food, or open my phone and make a delivery on my phone. It's not, except a manna appears from heaven and put the food right in front of me. So we can't just say we want our children to be, I want to raise a kind child. I want to raise a successful child. What steps are you doing to make sure that your child is successful more than you? You know, I use this example, I'll continue to use this example to my parents. I tell them that I'm in my 30s and I've not made my first 1 million. Do I want my child to be in his 30s and not have made his first 1 million? No, not possible. So I have to make sure that I intentionally teach my child to avoid the mistakes that I have made. You know, so it's about doing. Raising our children to become what we want them to become is doing that thing and saying, okay,
Mm.
you have to do things differently. So as parents, we have to know there comes a time when you have to be conscious and say, okay, you know what? It's time for me to spend time with my child. When I'm working on my phone, I look at and say, okay, it's time for me to drop my phone and concentrate on my child. Or when he's watching too much cartoon, it's time for me to shut down the cartoon and tickle him and spend time with him as a parent, because we need that connection as parents. I'm not just raising a child that, just like you said, a robot, or a child that I expect to magically form. I have to put in the work. We have to put in the work for our
Mm.
children to become what we want them to become. So that's my final
Mm.
wrap.
You, you know what I just picked from this final wrap? You just said parenting is an action word.
Yes, it
And the
is.
actions are the daily activities that we do intentionally. That's
Mhm.
just the summary of today's message to me. Parenting is an action word. and the actions are in the daily activities we do every day
I should come and
intentionally.
learn from you. You're
Thank you
very good
so
at bullet points. I'm going to interview you.
No problem, no problem. I'm available. Thank you so much, Mrs. Wunmi Olotu, my sis. Thank you so much
Adio.
for having me on this show. I hope to have you again and again. I hope you create time for me. I hope so. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Parents, viewers, I hope you've been able to learn from today's intentional parenting talk show. Our goal is to raise that awesome adult, that like my guest said, not the one that, not an adult that has some missing part in the community and mixing with everyone. Our goal is to raise that awesome adult that will become, I don't know how to put it, but that will become the best in the community. And God help us to do this in Jesus' name. Have a wonderful time to everybody. See you in the next episode of the Intentional Parenting and Talk Show with another guest. Bye for now. Thank you, Sis Wunmi. Bye-bye.
Bye.